from London to New York was forced to make a U-turn just 40 minutes into its flight on Monday because the co-pilot admitted he hadn't completed his pilot training.
Oh, how dangerous would it have been then for passengers and crew members had the flight continued? Let's talk to Alastair Rosenschein, former Boeing 747 pilot and aviation consultant. Morning.
Good morning.
I mean, look, on the surface, I have to say, you hear this headline and you think, oh,
what?
Heck, what is going on?
Yeah, it's not Virgin's finest hour. It's easily done. The first officer had completed simulator training, he'd completed all the technical training, and he'd actually done some flights on the aircraft. However, he hadn't completed what we call line training. There's a final check. So he had to fly with a training captain. The captain he was rostered with wasn't a training captain. They only discovered that once they'd taken off.
How do you think they did discover that? Would they just have been talking with each other and then realised?
That's an interesting point. I really don't know. It's possible that they were talking to each other, you know, and then it transpired, or perhaps somebody on the ground worked out. But whatever, they would have been in contact with the company and made this decision to turn back, which is actually quite a dramatic decision.
I was
very
going to say, because bearing in mind that there was just one element that he hadn't quite done, the line training or whatever it is, presumably it would have been perfectly safe to carry on.
I would say it was safe, but had something have happened, it wouldn't have been so good. But look, the point is here that he was trained, he was qualified, but Virgin has an enhanced training. So they do this additional training, which isn't actually entirely a legal requirement. But it does become a legal requirement once the airline has told the Civil Aviation Authority this is how they're going to do it. And so they decided to come back. But, you know, the question here is, what do the pilots actually say to the passengers?
But that's what I was going to say.
Yes.
What would they announce?
Well, it's very tricky. You can't really make an announcement to say, oh, by the way, one of us isn't qualified to fly this aircraft, so we're going back, because then it's, you know, shock horror. So they came out with this rather bland thing that some paperwork hadn't been signed off, which is, to my mind, totally implausible. But this was the excuse that was given, and they went back. And, of course, passengers are going to find out. But this is an ongoing thing with aviation, is, you know, you really want to be honest with your passengers, or with your customers, but sometimes you can't be. Because you can't panic them, you can't make them frightened. That's not in their interest. And you know, this is
It's made me curious now, because I was kept on the... I was on an Iberia flight. She said, never fly with them again. But no, I have to, I think. But we were stuck on the tarmac for 3.5 hours, and all we were told was that there were paperwork. There was something wrong with the paperwork. So that's an excuse, is it, for something more serious going on?
That could, in fact, be correct. There may have been a load sheet problem, or maybe a flight planning problem. There's a lot of paperwork involved, because aviation's the most highly regulated industry, after perhaps the nuclear industry. I'm not too sure which of the two. They vie for it. It's competition. So you really got to dot the I's, cross the T's. You can't take chances. I mean, this aircraft we're talking about with Virgin carries 266 people. It's 266 lives.
Yes.